we've been looking forward to this summer, like coming out of that, well, everybody calls it cap hell, jumping on like with a bike with a banana seat. That was me. Playing other sports makes you a better athlete.
State of hockey, Minnesota or Massachusetts?
Well,
Welcome to the Athletes in Sports podcast. My name is Max Smith, founder of the In Sports Foundation. Here with a very special guest today, Bill Guerin, two-time Stanley Cup champion, GM of the Minnesota Wild. We're here in the penalty box. We got our innovative Get In logo, so we thought it was pretty fitting. But Bill, since we're in the penalty box, trivia question: do you know how many penalty minutes you got in the NHL?
I think it was 1,660.
You got it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I looked that up. AI might have helped out with that a little bit. But any memorable penalty experiences that you had in your career?
Oh man, yeah, quite a few. You know what? I remember one night we were in LA. I was playing for the Edmonton Oilers, and I got in a fight early in the first period. And it was somebody that normally doesn't fight, but he hit Doug Waite in a way I didn't like, so I kind of jumped him. So I spent 17 minutes in the box the first period. So while I was in there, I was just talking with the guy sitting in there, and my wife was pregnant with our second daughter.
Okay.
And, I was just, before cell phones, so our trainer had a beeper with, just in case she went into labor or something. And, I went out, so I fought another guy that stuck up for his teammates. So I came back in. So I spent, 22 minutes with this guy. And years later, honestly, 16 years later or something, he's like, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I just want to ask how your daughter is." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I spent all that time with you in the penalty box that night." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, he's like 16 years old, a junior in high school,
my gosh.
sophomore in high school," and he remembered it, and it was hilarious.
Because how was your daughter born? Like soon after that game?
Soon after that game,
like
yeah.
That day, that night?
No, not that night, but soon after that game.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Was there any favorite team that sticks out to you that you played for over your career? Because you played for quite a few.
Yeah. I played for 8 teams, and I enjoyed all of them. I really did. I mean, when you're in this world, you have to really take the positives out of everywhere, and because you don't know where it's going to take you. You think you're going to play on one team, maybe 2, and next thing you know, I'm on 8, and I'm like, what the heck? But it was great, and there's really great things about everywhere I played, and I think the main thing I took out of it were the friendships I made, and anytime I go into those buildings where I played, I have a connection to, and I have friends there, and I have. Like I said, I think just a connection to that city, and it was an experience.
Well, so I was looking up this morning just your 2 Stanley Cup wins, and one was early on in your career, and one was at the end of your career, and just looking at those rosters of like guys on the Devils like Neil Broughton and Scott Stevens and Marty Brodeur, and then you got Pittsburgh Penguins with Sidney Crosby and Malkin and Fleury, guys who are still playing.
Oh, yeah.
Was there any similarities between those 2 locker rooms with there being a Stanley Cup champion team that stands out to you of what that felt like to be part of, that?
Yeah. I honestly, I think it was the sacrifice. I think the guys didn't really care about their individual stats. I mean, of course, we needed individuals to rise to certain occasions and to score goals, but it was all about the team, and it was all about winning. And I remember those teams as both being very, very close, and not just like you get along or you have fun together. It's really holding each other accountable. And making sure we're all doing the right things.
And not being afraid to do that, because sometimes you might be afraid to.
Yeah, when you're really close, you're close means you're able to say the hard things to each other and not let it affect your relationship or your being a good teammate and things like that. You've got to be able to go through difficult times together. So, a lot of that's holding each other accountable, but also helping each other too. And those teams were, those are great teams to be on.
Yeah. Hey everyone, I want to take a quick moment to tell you about the In Sports Foundation. At In Sports, we're all about helping kids get more involved in sports. We do this through providing free camps, scholarships, and team sponsorships, all to help reduce the cost of sports and getting more kids into the game. Through sports, kids can learn valuable life lessons, stay active, and maintain their mental well-being. To support our mission and help us get more kids into the game, visit our website at insportsfoundation.org to make a donation. Together, we can make a difference. Let's take a step back. What got you into hockey? What was it? Was it a friend, your dad, a family member, and were there other sports that you were playing other than just
I
hockey?
always played other sports.
Okay.
I played soccer, baseball, lacrosse, but actually it was my mother. My mother, and it's funny because my mother didn't know hockey at all. My mother's from Nicaragua, so she just had a friend whose son played or skated, and she needed something for me to do in the wintertime for me to get my energy out. And she's like, I don't know what to do with this kid. And my mom's friend said, hey, I'm taking my son skating tomorrow. Why don't you bring him with us? And she did, and that was it. That's all I ever wanted to do.
Awesome. What other sports were you playing growing up?
I honestly, everything I played, I played soccer, I played baseball, I played lacrosse. Mm-hmm. But you know what? We always just played sports. You know what? Like my parents are tennis players, so we were playing. We'd go down to the courts and play tennis. We'd play, kind of sandlot baseball. Mm-hmm. We'd play soccer in the in the schoolyards, wiffle ball, riding bikes. It was always, we were all into BMX back then in in like the 70s and 80s, like those memes you see with the kids jumping on with a bike with a banana seat.
Yep.
Like that was me. And so we literally played everything.
And I mean, sports specialization is a big topic right now in youth sports, and taking kids out of that maybe sandlot type baseball feel. What's your take on that, especially for hockey?
How long do we have?
Well, we got it.
No, honestly, I really understand we're in a different world, and there is specializing in one sport. It's here. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. Mm-hmm. I get it. But that's not the greatest thing in the world. You playing other sports makes you a better athlete. It makes you better at the sport you want to specialize in. And I also really, the best times were when the grown-ups were not involved. Mm-hmm. We had to make our own rules. If somebody broke the rules, you held them accountable. You had to work together. You had to problem solve. You had to do all those things that, quite frankly, a lot of kids they don't have the tools to do that now, because things are always done for them, and they're always being, put in private lessons, one-on-one. They're always getting their way, or they're always getting this or that, and that's just not the case in the real world. So, I think, unsupervised, games and sports and stuff like that, it's a good thing. It's too bad that it's not as popular as it used to be.
Yeah. Now you've got 4 kids. All I'm guessing played sports.
Yes.
Growing up,
yes.
were you ever able to coach them, or what kind of experience did you have as a parent watching?
Yeah, for my daughters, I would help out like with their soccer teams, but not too much. I'd rather just watch them. With my son, I coached for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, and I quit. I just, I didn't want to, like I said, I didn't like dealing with the parents. That was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I was being harder on my son than any other person's child. And, it affected our relationship. Our rides to the rink weren't as good, and we had a blast doing that stuff. So I said, you know what, let somebody else coach him. I'm just going to be his dad. And that was the best thing I ever did.
Yeah, because how old's your oldest kid?
She's 27.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any grandkids that?
Nope, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. No, my oldest is 27. She lives in New York. My second daughter's 26. She lives here in Minnesota. My son's 20. He'll be 24 in May. He lives here in Minnesota. My youngest daughter's 22. She lives in Arizona right now.
Okay. So how about state of hockey, Minnesota or Massachusetts?
Well, we know where the best players come from. That's Massachusetts. But I will say this: no, it has really shifted, and Minnesota is really they're pumping out the best kids right now. And it's not just a numbers thing. Like, I think there's more kids that play here ever, but it's more, they make it more accessible to everybody here. You know, I was talking with, like Derek Stepan and Alex Goligoski the other day, and their kids are kind of coming up through the ranks right now. But, you know, within their town program, there's 14 teams for each age group, and there's a place to play for everybody. And you know what, we talk about this quite often, and Minnesota does it right for youth hockey and youth sports, it seems like, and it's so worth fighting for, to keep all this travel stuff out of it, and the stuff it's just unnecessary here. So the way that Minnesota does it, I think it's right. I think that's the reason that they probably have more NHLers in the league today than any other state, and they got to fight to keep it.
Well, I know the Minnesota Wild are huge in community, huge in growing the game of hockey. Are there any big initiatives that you guys are working on right now to get more kids playing?
Well, I know our foundation that's its biggest goal is to make it accessible for everybody, and that's. You know, in this area, it's part of the community. It's part of the fabric of the state. I mean, so I love it that our foundation, has puts a huge importance on growing the game even more in the state and making it accessible to kids that might not necessarily have access to it.
So for you, going through, I mean, mental health is a big topic in today's world. And maybe not so much when you were in NHL, when you were, playing, but there was, probably some different mental tips or tricks that you did to stay mentally focused, mentally fresh. Talk about that a little bit.
Oh yeah. And you know what, having the four kids, my wife and I, we've been through it with all four of them. And it's really tough to be a kid in today's day and age. And I think first and foremost, they need the support of their parents. And you know what? They're kids. It's not their living. They're playing a sport. The support and the love and the encouragement and the confidence that parents can give to their kids is probably the most important thing. But when I was, coming through the ranks and, playing in the National Hockey League, I always had great support. My wife was my rock. I could, she was always just somebody that I could talk to, and that is really, really important. I had very supportive parents and loving parents, and I just, my friends too, and they didn't care if I was playing in the NHL or doing whatever. I was Billy from home, and that was it. So I could always get it straight from them. But I just think support and having somebody to talk to through tough times was really important for me. And I think it's important for everybody.
Were there any things that you did during the game, either like before a game or during the game, to like get you ready, or if you had a bad play, or to just kind of wipe that play out of your mind?
I learned. It was tough when I was younger, and because it's a tough league, and you can't be great, 82 nights a year. You're going to have off nights, and it's, realizing when you're not having a great night, being okay with it, kind of forgiving yourself, but also giving to the team in different ways, and then, if I'd miss an opportunity early in my career, I would flip out. By the time it was later in my career, I had, develop the skills to kind of move on and just tell myself, if I'm worried about the shot I just missed, I'm not going to be ready for the one I'm just going to get. And it just took time and a lot of work. A lot of, experience is really big, because you can't really figure it out until you go through it. And I think just like having great mentors, having good older players around me to kind of guide me through and help me out.
Yeah. Who are some of those players for you?
Man, like you mentioned, like Scott Stevens, John McClain, Bruce Driver, Kenny Danico. Like I was so lucky to go to a veteran team, a good veteran team that knew how to win and act the right way and prepare properly. We had a bunch of great pros, and yeah, they just really helped me out.
So I played hockey growing up here in Minnesota, played high school hockey, played college hockey in the MIAC, but it's always fun to see Minnesota players playing for the Wild, and you got to do that in Boston.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I remember watching you, and that's the team I remember you the most on. Was even though you weren't there for that long, I just remember that you were a hometown kid there.
Yeah.
How did that feel? Just going back to.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. And, it doesn't always work out. Like I was actually very nervous going home. Like I had some friends that had gone back and played for the Bruins, and it was awful. And I was just really kind of worried about how it would go. But I kind of prepared myself for it. And I just said, you know what, I need to embrace this and not get distracted, not feel like, friends come out of the woodwork.
Right.
And
yeah.
they think they think you go out in the backyard and take tickets off the ticket tree. And that doesn't
Here's
happen.
a jersey. Here's
yeah.
a hat.
Oh yeah. It's so I dealt with all that early. So I didn't have to worry about it through my whole time there, and I loved it. It was great.
Yeah.
And I worry about guys from Minnesota coming back, and can they handle it, or is it too much pressure? But I think today's kids are way more prepared for it because they play it on much bigger stages, and you take like a kid like Fabes, like he loves it, like he was dying to get here, and he wants to play in front of his family and friends, and he feels that, like, he just feels that big connection to Minnesota. He loves it. And that's the way I felt playing for the Bruins. And if you're like that and you're passionate about it and you're not thinking about all the other stuff, you can have success.
Yeah. So I'm not going to ask you about Kaprizov when he's coming back, because you probably get that asked all the time. But I think bigger picture, like I remember the day when the Wild signed Parisian Suter, 4th of July. Like I remember that vividly, and it was like the best thing for a Minnesota Wild fan. Like this was going to be awesome, and now it's kind of like, when is that money gonna drain? Nothing against them, but when's that money gonna be available? And I'm sure it's an exciting time for the Wild for that to open up and create some new opportunities. And not that you have to name names or anything, but is there a pretty, I guess, fun plan going on within your team to create the future of the organization?
Yeah, I mean, we're always planning. We're always planning a year in advance. What's the next summer going to look like? What type of cap space are we going to have? So, we've been looking forward to this summer, like coming out of that. Well, everybody calls it cap hell, and it has been. But we've been looking forward to it, but we don't dwell on it every day. We go about our business, and it'll be an exciting time. We want to keep operating kind of the same way that we have with signing the right people and making sure we're doing our homework and try not to have any bad contracts, and because I think those are the things that kind of hurt you in the end. But it's definitely going to be an exciting time, and I'm looking forward to it.
As a fan, I'm excited to see what's gonna happen, and I mean, we've still been able to put some really good teams on the ice.
Right. Yeah, we just want to keep making steps forward, and listen, I don't do this job for fun. It is a fun job. I don't do it for fun. Neither does anybody else. We do it because we want to win, and it's why we play the game. It's why we work in the game. It's just to win.
Yep. Couple last questions because we are wrapping up here. But If you had any advice to give parents in today's sports world, whether it's hockey or football or soccer, what advice would you give?
Oh man, honestly, make sure they're having fun. Give them confidence and give them love. That's it.
Did you find something beneficial from this Athletes in Sports podcast? Please share this episode with a fellow athlete, coach, or someone who loves sports to help them reach their next level and help kids get in the game.
I got a couple rapid fire questions for you. Favorite road city as a player?
To play or to visit?
To play.
To play, Montreal.
Okay. Yeah, that would be a sweet stadium. Hardest player you ever played against?
Oh my God. I'd say one of them is probably, like the hardest would be like Gretzky and Lemieux.
Yeah.
Messier was really tough to play against. But then you had another type of guy, and like Darian Hatcher was miserable to play against.
Best chirp you've ever heard in the penalty box that you can say?
Oh man. Yeah. Can't say.
Can't say. Good answer. If you could jump into a Wild jersey for one shift, who's on your line?
I'd say Boldy and Zuki because they're both pastors.
Yep.
I would say Kirill, but we'd be bumping into each other.
Yeah.
We're both shooters.
All right, who do you got for the Masters this weekend?
Oh God, I don't know. Oh, Scotty. Yeah.
Good pick.
Yeah.
Good pick.
Really going out on a limb.
Yeah.
Hopefully he stays out of jail.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, Bill, I just want to thank you for taking the time today. I want to thank you for your partnership with Innovative and the In Sports Foundation. We've had this Get In Innovative here for years, and we have a really cool experience going on center ice here with some of our customers on the Innovative side. So
it's going to be great.
It's going to be an awesome event, and we just really appreciate the partnership with the Wild, and thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thanks for having me on, and we appreciate the partnership as well. And I hope they dress warm because it's going to be cold.
Awesome. Thanks, Bill.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Athletes in Sports podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more from inspiring athletes, we encourage you to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on all of our social media channels.